In 2019, this channel uploaded the evolution of Halo's Magnum. It spawned a chain of evolution videos that proved to be instantly popular. Years later, the evolution series is making a return with a fresh coat of paint, updated info and trivia, and with the potential to branch out into other gaming franchises. Your support is what makes this series possible, and I hope to see you as we all march ahead. Polls will be conducted on what weapons, characters, or features will be looked into, and I encourage the community to reach out if a particular topic is ever brought up that interests you. I'm always looking for consultants when it comes to these evolution videos, and my DMs are always open on Twitter. A huge thank you needs to be given to Zedkins, one of the Halo community's most popular modders, for setting me up with the appropriate tools to get you this footage. A link to his pretty snazzy Twitter and YouTube will be down below, and with that being said, it's rather fitting then that the new Evolution series begins with one of the most recognizable automatic weapons in gaming history, the assault rifle of Halo. Halo Combat Evolved had a pretty infamously experimental development cycle. It existed in many different forms before becoming the game that we all know and love today. The assault rifle had a very similar story. Initially, what came to be known as the MA5B drew heavy inspiration from popular sci-fi weapons at the time, such as the Merida III from Starship Troopers and later the Pulse Rifle from Aliens. Early concept art showed it with a grip on the front, a grenade launcher, but eventually the weapon transitioned to something far more familiar, with its iconic bullpup design and digital LCD ammo counter. It's initially believed that pre-release, Bungie experimented with giving the assault rifle a dynamic fire rate that could be controlled by how hard the player pushed down on the trigger. The footage that most popularly suggests this was an old showcase that also showed the weapon using some cut animations for turning on and off the flashlight, as well as a unique assassination animation on a grunt. As the Chief is quick to remind us though, during game development, plans change, and the final iteration of the weapon is quite different. The MA5B has a fast fire rate, 60 rounds per magazine, high bullet spread, and the fastest melee speed of any weapon in the game, making it an ideal weapon for crowd control. It's most useful when combined with its fast melee speed in hallways or against the flood due to its ability to just shower a hallway in bullets, suppressing anything not shielded and showing off Halo Combat Evolved's rather impressive at the time spark particle effect system. Its lengthy reload animation can also be mitigated by performing a popular glitch called the backpack reload. If your rifle ever runs dry, double tap the reload button and then switch to another weapon. This will make the weapon reload itself in your pocket while you can use your secondary weapon as you wait, keeping the pace of combat high. If you ever find yourself in a melee battle in multiplayer, an assault rifle in good hands can be the ultimate tool, making it a solid choice for its variety of outside-of-the-box utilities. In esports, another ability that the assault rifle had was called the Quick Camo. Upon picking up an active camo power-up, there's this lengthy delay before the player becomes invisible. If the player fires off a quick assault rifle shot when picking it up though, the effect happens immediately. Halo Combat Evolved's assault rifle is as iconic to the series as the Chief's green color. A lot of pro players I talk to consider it to be the most mechanically interesting iteration of the weapon. What makes a Halo weapon special is that multi-tool, mechanical approach to designing them, coming up with ways to make them interesting beyond simply their range, lethality, and fire rate. The assault rifle's journey began here, in the first game, and it began its life not with a crawl, but with a fully fledged sprint, the roar of its gunfire making its presence known. Dark times were ahead for this little beauty, but its beginning is remembered for good reason. Following the immense success of Halo 2's online matchmaking, Bungie took the lessons that they learned from how Halo fans played and put it to work in Halo 2's sequel, Halo 3. An issue they didn't anticipate in Halo 2 is that by giving players access to a weapon with dual wielding, players opted to, well, dual wield it, which frequently limited their ability to melee and throw grenades. Entire aspects of the golden grenade gun melee triangle were rarely touched by some Halo 2 players. Bungie didn't like this and felt that the SMG was perhaps not the healthiest loadout weapon for Halo matchmaking. An employee by the name of Tom Doyle suggested bringing back the assault rifle from Halo 1, but this time make it into the ultimate social slayer starter weapon. A gun that's hard to use on its own in order to encourage players to begin using their grenades and melee attacks in concert with the weapon. This would train players on the importance of the golden triangle before allowing them to begin the process of then upgrading their arsenal by scavenging the environment for better weapons. This then allowed Bungie to have more competitive playlists using BR starts, which allowed matches to get going a lot faster. Halo 3 was a game designed around Bungie having their cake and eating it too, making the matches more social or more competitive based on the weapon that players spawned with. In Halo 3, the assault rifle sports a new high-quality model with some added detail, some pretty classy green lights, depth, and a faster, if a bit less tactical, reload animation that's comprised of 3 main parts: magazine out, magazine in, bolt charged. This style would form the assault rifle's traditional reload animation going forward, moving away from that MP5 style reload from the first Halo game. Interestingly, during development, its bolt would actually cycle back and forth when firing, but this is mysteriously absent in the final game. The sound effect for it is also derived from a pretty popular stock sound effect at the time for a Browning 50 caliber machine gun. The sound mixing for the weapon is a bit underwhelming, but when complemented by the rather snazzy cowboy-esque ricochet sounds, it wins back a few points. It's hard to deny though that this firing sound is a step down from the growl of the original assault rifle. In the campaign, the assault rifle is certainly a fine gun on lower difficulties, able to dish out plenty of damage in close quarters environments, but when compared to its Halo 1 variant, it feels like it has less of a voice in this game. The loss of its rapid melee attack, large magazine, and widespread in controlled, closed environments often keeps it from being a weapon you want to hold on to. It's certainly nothing offensive, but it's a far cry from the spark-showering, flood-killing, grunt-beating death machine that we saw before. Where it shines a bit more is in the social multiplayer. The assault rifle makes a fine social starter weapon, encouraging that golden triangle gameplay that Bungie aimed for, but without the unique outside-of-the-box traits like the Combat Evolved assault rifle had. The Halo 3 one can't help but feel like something was lost between 2001 and 2007. This loss of identity is something that the assault rifle would grapple with over the course of the next decade and a half. It would take the assault rifle on an interesting journey of self-discovery. Halo 3 ODST put players in the boots of, well, an ODST. A fresh new perspective for the Halo series, and with a limited budget and limited production resources, was able to craft one of the best Halo campaign experiences of the Bungie era. The game reuses the MA5C from Halo 3 with no changes outside of a slightly adjusted view model, pulling it away from the camera a bit, while also adding a more pronounced tail to the firing sound to give it a little bit more of an impact. Mechanically, the damage was lowered slightly, but its accuracy was boosted to give it a bit more of a presence in the ODST's longer-range combat rhythm. In combat, the assault rifle of ODST is often overlooked due to the undeniable style of the silenced SMG and the tactical fantasy that that weapon brought with it. Well, yes, the lack of vertical recoil does mean that the assault rifle is easier to use against drones. The differences between the SMG and the assault rifle in this game are more or less down to preference. Do you prefer slower firing but more damage, or fast firing and less damage? It's really up to you. The ODST assault rifle is nothing offensive, but it's certainly nothing remarkable. In 2010, Bungie left the franchise as head developer, but before moving on to wherever destiny would take them, they left the fans with Halo Reach. Reach was a love letter to Halo's history, set right before the events of Halo 1 on the planet Reach during a military effort to push back the invading Covenant. Outside of an upgraded version of the Halo engine came a much heavier focus on the military aspects of Halo's universe, with most of Halo's weapons getting a facelift to reflect this. This is most obvious with the new assault rifle, the MA-37. When talking to Halo artist Isaac Hannaford, he said at the time that the FPS genre was diving headfirst into augmentations, attachments, and Bungie wanted to bring a bit more of that militarism to Halo's arsenal. The Halo Reach assault rifle was designed to look less like a cohesive, solid shape and more like a series of military attachments on a standard human weapon, which is what creates the iconic weapon we all know and love. You could look at the design and see where the different pieces slid on and off of it. It's a more gritty and war-torn take on the assault rifle, which was appropriate given the game's setting. The animation work also carries on from what was established in Halo 3, albeit with a bit more weight and an additional non-empty reload animation. In the campaign, the spare ammo could range from a maximum of 288 spare rounds all the way up to 600, a reference to the first Halo assault rifle. Now, despite this callback, the assault rifle of Halo Reach has very little in common mechanically with its ancestor, the MA5B. The Reach assault rifle, much like the Halo 3 variant, was designed as the ultimate social matchmaking starter weapon. On its own, it could certainly get the job done, but the shallow clip and range meant that the player was encouraged to make use of their melee attacks and grenades when using the weapon. Halo Reach's bloom system also meant that the weapon could be a bit more accurate by feathering your shots and watching the crosshair, though not accurate enough to really use at a range, which encourages players to begin branching out and picking up other weapons. It's a design for the weapon that a generation of gamers grew up with and associate with the look of the Halo assault rifle. When I made my initial evolution video, there was a surprising amount of nostalgia and respect for this incarnation of the weapon. It may not have returned to the mechanical depth of the original assault rifle, but the memories of this weapon are still carried in the hearts of many people. With the original Halo Reach game servers shut down, the only way to experience Reach now is via the Master Chief Collection, which uses modified game settings to reduce bloom, meaning the DMR is much easier to use than before, which leaves everything, the assault rifle included, in a pretty rough spot. The Invasion playlist on the Master Chief Collection still uses those original settings though for those who want to play the game that was intended. But without a way to play the original Halo Reach social matchmaking online in the MCC, this weapon's original role in social matchmaking was laid to rest with those server shutdowns. In 2011, Halo 1 celebrated its 10th birthday. A remaster was created by Saber Interactive with the help of then-new studio 343. This remaster used the Gearbox PC port of Halo 1 as a template and pasted over the original graphics with a mixture of Halo 3 and Reach assets, as well as some original artwork. During the development of Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, Saber Interactive used the Halo Reach assault rifle model, but sometime prior to release, this was swapped out with the model used in Halo 3. Despite fitting the profile a lot better than the Reach assault rifle, the slimmer Halo 3 model doesn't quite line up with the original animations, which leads to Chief gripping the gun in this rather odd way. Thankfully, the sound and visual work more than makes up for this with an excellent bassy update to the original firing sound. And Saber Interactive's rather impressive attempt to emulate the visually pleasing spark effects from Halo Combat Evolved leads to an assault rifle that feels pretty good to use. The Anniversary edition of Halo 1 often misses the mark when it comes to staying true to the game's original artistic identity, but the work on the assault rifle is commendable. Truly, a weapon fit for a king. Or a chief? A Master Chief. Halo 4 was the first game by the then-new Studio 343, and with their arrival came a new art style, new direction for Halo's sandbox, and, of course, a new take on the beloved assault rifle. Even though it doesn't make much sense canonically, the new MA5D assault rifle is the first weapon that the player equips on the derelict Forward Unto Dawn. And seeing as the campaign gives it a lot of prominence in cutscenes and promotional material, it's fitting that a lot of care went into its presentation. The design itself is quite high-tech and futuristic, with the old retro-style ammo counter being replaced with a very advanced futuristic display. The sound for it was sourced from a real-world Scar H assault rifle, which gave the weapon a rather aggressive roar when pulling the trigger. According to post-mortem interviews after the game's release, 343 designed Halo 4 less around utilities and unique weapon mechanics, and more around simplistic, easy-to-use weapon archetypes found in other popular military shooters, in order to appeal to a broader set of fans from other shooter franchises. Much of Halo 4's sandbox is balanced more around effective range and fire rate, rather than outside-of-the-box utilities. These weapons are then paired with perks via a loadout system, pre-match. In multiplayer, the assault rifle is a close to medium-range automatic weapon best paired with the speed reload perk, and if you're looking for something a bit more familiar, accompanying it with an extra explosive damage perk can remind you of Halos of old. During Halo 4's lifetime, a patch was introduced that increased the damage of the multiplayer assault rifle, making it more preferable as a loadout choice. All in all, Halo 4's assault rifle is hard to talk about due to how different the vision for Halo's sandbox had become. More interesting changes were on the horizon though, and in retrospect, the Halo 4 assault rifle is remembered fondly, if for nothing more than its incredibly memorable sound. Halo the Master Chief Collection was, well, a collection of Halo's best titles, updated to run on newer hardware such as the Xbox One and Xbox Series consoles, as well as the PC. In the MCC's version of Halo 4, the assault rifle has a slightly faster fire rate as a side effect of the increased frame rate, which can cause the firing sound to fall slightly out of sync with the gunshots, which can produce some pretty interesting results when feathering the trigger. The MCC also came with Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer, which was developed by Certain Affinity. The development cycle of Halo 2 Anniversary's multiplayer was very short, and it runs on the Halo 4 game engine. Despite Halo 2 not featuring the assault rifle, Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer does feature the weapon, and strangely enough, it uses the Halo 4 model. Mechanically, it functions a bit like the Halo 4 assault rifle pre-balancing patch, though it sports some rather rough-looking animations. The reload animation can be cut early by holding down the trigger during the animation, and regularly during matchmaking, the sounds for reloading the weapon will be randomly cut out entirely, which is unfortunately a common bug that went unfixed in the MCC. If we move on over to Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 3, believe it or not, in 2020, these games got a pretty cool new addition. The folks at Splash Damage, who helped bring the MCC to PC, updated the base models of most guns with 2K PBR textures and normal maps. What does this mean, you may ask? Well, I don't like the Anniversary graphics for its lack of consistency with Halo 1's visual style, but you do want a visual upgrade. Go to your customization screen, equipped no skins on any of the weapons, launch a campaign mission with campaign customization enabled, and all the original weapons will feature higher quality materials and textures. The same goes for Halo 3. This was a surprise addition to the game, and that slavishly faithful recreation of older textures was not even asked for by the community. Yet, it's something we're extremely grateful for. This is cool stuff. Halo 5 Guardians was the final game in the Reclaimer saga that started with Halo 4, but it went out with a bang. Sporting high-quality versions of the assets found in Halo 4, it's rather fitting then that Halo 5 gave the Reclaimer saga assault rifle a proper send-off. Halo 5's assault rifle was done by the talented Andrew Bradbury, and is one of the best models in the whole game. Every inch of the weapon oozes with love and care, and no corners were cut in bringing this high-quality model to life. The animation work and presentation was superb, and even if the sound design was a tad weaker than Halo 4's, it was still a fine send-off for the poster weapon of the Reclaimer saga. How is it mechanically? Well, after the criticisms of Halo 4's loadouts, Halo 5 tried to meet both legacy fans and new gamers in a middle ground of sorts. The emphasis on simple and easy-to-use weapon archetypes over utility-focused weapons was retained, but the controversial loadout system was gone. If I can compare the Halo 5 assault rifle to games that Halo 5 was emulating at the time, the assault rifle can be best described as Halo 5's version of the M4A1. The super easy to use, ranged, fully automatic rifle that most players can get a lot of kills with. The ammo count was also changed from 32 up to 36 in order to lessen the stress of missing shots when firing the weapon downrange. With the new introduction of aiming down the sights, the weapon's recoil and accuracy could be further improved, allowing the weapon to land distant shots better. And in a controversial balancing patch which nerfed the game's battle rifle, the assault rifle was given a further increase to its accuracy and rate of fire, and a very generous headshot multiplier, making it, rather weirdly, one of the best weapons in the game for headshots in the campaign and Warzone firefight. Like most weapons in Halo 5, the gun comes with a variety of attachments that can be obtained in loot boxes and used in the Warzone mode, or spawned in Forge for use in custom games. Why don't we go through all of them? The silencer is a rather standard first-person shooter attachment. It reduces your range but removes you from the radar when firing. Extended mags do exactly what they say on the tin. They bump up the ammo capacity by 50%, falling just 6 bullets short of the classic 40 rounds. The long barrel attachment increases the range of the bullet magnetism and aim assist, allowing you to use this thing at even further ranges. The laser targeter is an attachment that decreases bullet spread and increases the bullet magnetism. The stabilizer jets completely eliminate vertical recoil. The energy bayonet increases melee damage and lock-on range. The night blade attachment increases the knockback and damage done to vehicles. I'd avoid this one. The sound dampener attachment has all the benefits of the silencer, just without the range reduction. The threat marker attachment can ping enemies through walls. The kinetic bolts attachment increases the player's knockback and damage against vehicles with a rather funny oversight. Using this attachment reverts the assault rifle back to its pre-patched state. Weird, right? And now let's move on to the sights. The recon sight is your standard first-person shooter red dot sight. It allows for full-on aiming down the sights and extends the range of the weapon. The long shot sight is mostly used for extremely long-range engagements, which works well with headshotting unshielded AI in Warzone firefight. The COG sight displays the health and shield status of targets while outlining them in a red glow. The hybrid sight is an experimental sight pulled from the carbine and retrofitted for human use. And finally, the morph sight, which is the scope of a Promethean light rifle reverse engineered to work on human weapons. Halo Infinite is currently the latest entry in the Halo series. It acts as a new start for the series after the Reclaimer saga, featuring a return to Halo's old art style and design sensibilities, as well as a whole host of new weapons to the series. Some classics are best not to get rid of though, which brings us to the MA40 assault rifle. Once again brought to us by the insanely talented Andrew Bradbury. The MA40 assault rifle is a love letter to the MA37 seen in Halo Reach. The UI and art teams also did a brilliant job adorning the Chief's signature weapon with production stickers and decals to give this weapon a sense of history. When first shown off to the public, the assault rifle of Halo Infinite sported a coloration and presentation that more closely resembled the Halo Combat Evolved assault rifle. The animation work is slightly floatier than the Halo 5 assault rifle, but the sound design has been greatly improved upon, giving it a more solid presence thanks in no small part to Halo Infinite's upgraded audio engine. The presentation of this new assault rifle cannot be understated. It's one of my personal favorite renditions of the weapon to date. A serious work of handcrafted digital art. Mechanically, Halo Infinite's assault rifle continues on from Halo 5, making the weapon very easy to use in most situations, focusing more on range and accuracy than outside-of-the-box utilities, with a larger magazine, a generous headshot multiplier and accuracy, to have it excel at close to medium to even semi-long range, melting opponents faster and easier than most weapons in the sandbox. Due to this, the assault rifle can unintentionally make social play a bit more chaotic and sweaty like its predecessor gun. Something interesting is that the weapon has different stats in campaign and multiplayer. The multiplayer assault rifle has bullets that move so fast they're almost hit scan, while the campaign requires the player to lead their shots a bit and takes just a bit more skill to use at a range. There's also a variant available to use in the campaign called the Long Shot Assault Rifle, which has 25 rounds per magazine and extra damage per shot. This version is also available in the multiplayer too, but as of the time of writing, it's only available in offline modes or through modding. Due to the live service nature of Halo Infinite, it's hard to say where the MA40 is going, but as the Halo series marches into the future, we'll be there with it every step of the way, assault rifle in hand. Halo is best remembered for the Master Chief, but for many gamers, I'd wager what they remember are the digital letters on the back of his rifle. Whether it's solid 60 rounds or the classy 32, utility-focused CQC social weapon or jack-of-all-traits long-range rifle, we all have our favorite version of the iconic weapon, and we all have our favorites for different reasons. What's your favorite version of the Halo assault rifle, and what would you like the next episode of the Evolution series to be on? How did you enjoy the revival? Let me know in the comments below, and a huge thank you to the supporters of the channel. Your contributions help me keep on keeping on. Get the conversation started down below, and I'll see you all on the next video.